Hello and welcome to Were You Not Entertained? I'm Daniel,
I'm Rachel.
And I'm James.
and we are covering the third episode of Perry Mason.
Yes, we are, man. This got good.
Yeah, it is slowly ramping up. I still haven't decided if you were right last time or if I'm right.
About how long each of the story's going to go?
Yeah, because I feel like from this, they could do like a quick wrap up.
I actually changed my mind.
Yeah, I'm not. I feel like they could.
I feel like we're ramping up for a full season.
This is the full.
Yeah.
I think this is the full season. If they finish it off in one episode now to put it halfway through the season, because there's supposed to be 8, that would be a very abrupt ending.
It's going to be a little disappointing.
Yeah, I think this is a case per season at least to start the series with. Well, they say it's a mini series, so this may be all we ever get, but.
Right.
Yeah, but we have no loose endings tied up yet. So to end it next episode would be fast.
They'd have to do a lot.
They'd have to tie a lot of neat bows in 1 hour.
Yeah.
And they've also created some side stories that I feel like wouldn't be given their due justice. Like, I love the character Paul Drake, played by Chris Chalk, the beat detective or beat cop.
Yeah.
And if that was everything we got, I would feel very disappointed. So I don't know. I definitely think this is a full season now for this one case. And with what happened in this episode, I'm not disappointed by that so far. I may have been weary of it the first 2 episodes, but I feel like a lot of the things that were not necessarily keeping me from being interested, but I just didn't feel like had the pull I wanted, ramped up here. And I am very excited for next Sunday.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that. It is doing a lot more character development, which, in turn obviously makes you a little more interested in what's actually going on with these people currently and what's going to happen with these people at the end. Whether we get to a cliffhanger or if it's... I would be disappointed if this current case, I guess, goes past the first season, the first of the series. You never know.
With the fact they call it a miniseries, if they don't wrap this up, I'm going to be pissed. Just to be clear, unless there is a huge announcement that it's been picked up for a second series or second season.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. For me, I'm still maybe a little bit more in the dislike camp than the like camp.
Oh yeah, why so?
But there's just something about it that's not caught my attention just yet. I can't pinpoint it at the moment. I do like some of the storylines. I find their preacher woman, whatever you would label her, I find her to be very interesting. But I'm just...
You're talking about Sister Alice?
Yes.
She's great.
Yeah, she is.
She is great. And I'm curious what her statement means and where we might head after this, but I am still just not wrapped up. I'm not as invested as I feel like I ought to be 3 episodes in.
I get that. No, I can see that. I think the thing that changed my mind so heavily on this one was the foreshadowing that this one provided. Things like you start to see the decline of Evie, which I feel is sad because I love Lithgow and I think that his character is wonderful. But he's doing a great job of setting it up to where Perry needs to take over the case without it being some downfall of Evie. I mean, his decline is not great, but it's better than him being evil or corrupt the way that most of the other organizations seem to be in this.
Right.
Like I was talking earlier about how you had the detective Paul Drake's character and his kind of the intrigue with the corrupt detectives, and then Della just keeps getting better and better each episode for me. Like, I love her character. I think she's wonderful. I don't know. It the only thing that is still got me on the fence is the fact that it is week by week. This should have been a dump. This should have been all 8 episodes in a row so that it could be binged. And I know that's not the way HBO does things, and they do things however the hell they want, and I respect them for that. But sometimes a show like this, there's so much going on and so many names that a lot of the times I feel like I have to just go, okay, I don't know what that means yet. I hope there'll be more context later. Like at the meeting between Perry and his other detective friend, his what's his name? The one he was working with before
Yeah, his I don't even know what to call him, I guess. His investigative assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they're meeting at the restaurant and he gives him the extra information, I was like, I don't know who these people are. Like, I guess I was supposed to go, Pete. It almost feels like I have to go rewatch all the other episodes before a new episode comes out because so much happens. And guess what? I watch other TV shows, so it's not like I'm sitting there pondering the details of Perry Mason all week long.
Sure.
And that in a vacuum, that would be fine. But in modern times where there's so much media, that it can get lost in the fold very quickly.
You know, I don't know. I feel like what HBO is doing is it's tradition at this point, really. It's new to have these entire series just dumped in one day. It's a new phenomena to be able to sit down and watch 30 episodes of a multi-million-dollar series over a weekend. That might be how we want information, but I can understand why HBO is doing it the same way that they have, because it keeps interest. You can actually clock how many people are interested in your show. What episodes do you air where interest drops off? You know, it's not people just sitting down and letting it all play, and maybe they're paying attention and maybe they're not. These are people that are actually tuning in to pay attention to what's going on in your show.
No, I mean, I get it. I just don't care about their metrics. I care about my enjoyment.
Yeah.
Sure, but their metrics helps build how they build shows.
I think I sit firmly in both camps. I understand why they do it, and I do appreciate the suspense of waiting each week, but I feel like this particular show has such a complicated storyline that for me, skipping week to week, it's really hard to keep track of each little detail, and each little detail is very, very vital.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like either they needed to simplify it just a little, or maybe provide a little more, not necessarily a recap at the beginning, but just more repeated information, or they need to dump it all at once and keep it this complicated.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, HBO, almost anything that I can think of that has to deal with HBO is quality content. Right?
Yeah.
You can't
I
say
mean,
the
they
same
have my
for
respect.
Netflix.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah. HBO means good in my mind.
Right. But you can't say the same for every series that comes out on Netflix.
That is very true.
You can watch a series on Netflix and never see it again. You could watch something that's really good, and then 3 years later, they'll release a new episode for that series.
Yeah.
Peaky Blinders.
And you're like, okay, guys. So you filmed it all at once, you dumped it all at once, and then when it was time to get everybody back together, well, guess what? It's too late. These people are actors. They have other jobs. They're not sitting around waiting for your phone call.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's a catch-22. I agree that it would be nice to be able to, like, once we get the full thing, I would like to sit down and watch this all the way through just to make sure there weren't little nuances or things like that that I've missed. Like keeping track of who was, who was doing what, who's dead.
Yeah.
You're like, wait,
Exactly.
I don't really know. What were they doing? Why are they dead? I think that it would make more sense with that run, but at the same time, I can understand why they're doing it how they are, and it does keep you interested. Um, it's not. I guess they haven't had any episodes at this point that have like left me really thinking about it the next day. You know how you watch some movies and you're like, oh, that was pretty good, and then the next day it's just like in your head, and you're like, oh, maybe I didn't quite understand what was going on, and so you just end up thinking it over and over. And
Yeah, I get that.
this doesn't hasn't done that yet. They might have an episode near the end that maybe does that, but at this point, it's just kind of I just want to watch to see what's next because I am curious. At this point, they got me on the hook, right?
This one actually did get me a little bit, and I have a feeling I'm going to be thinking about it for a little while because this is the first one where I really felt like I started to see the message, and it's kind of the individual versus the group is what I'm starting to glean from it. The fact that pretty much every institution in this show is corrupt, but there are
Right.
individuals who are not, such as obviously Perry himself, and like we said, Sister Alice, both even working for EB. EB has his own agenda, and everybody has their own agenda, and there's only a handful out there who seem like they're trying to do quote unquote the right thing.
Sure.
I'm not saying EB's not, but it's not as magnanimous as he would like to think he is. And it's almost the idea of a single person going up against the powerful and corrupt institutions around them. And I'm kind of curious how that's gonna play out.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what's coming. That's not my issue. I think maybe for me, trying to watch it as it's released, 8:00 on a Sunday night is really tough for me.
Fair enough.
In our time zone, because I got to be at work early Monday morning, and that's more what I'm thinking about rather than Perry Mason, and that's not HBO's fault.
Right.
Maybe if it's a Saturday night release, I'd be way more excited.
Yes, that definitely has nothing to do with HBO or the show itself.
No, of course not. It just taints my personal viewing.
Sure,
yeah, I mean, to be honest,
time you view it that way.
Yes,
yeah, to be honest, if we weren't doing this coverage, I would probably just have watched the first episode and been like, "This is really cool, but also really complicated. I'm gonna wait 8 weeks."
Right.
And just would have binged it all on streaming, on HBO Max or something.
Yeah,
that's where I would have been, is waiting till it was finished releasing.
Yeah, I think that has more to do with the norm now than the show itself. I personally think the show is captivating and worth watching episode by episode. Maybe if you got to get up and work the next morning, maybe not. If it releases at 9 p.m. or whatever your time, maybe don't do that if you got to be up at 4 to go do stuff before you go to work or whatever. But I could definitely, I mean, if we weren't doing this coverage, I would probably watch it on like Monday evening or something.
Yeah.
With no hesitation.
For sure. It's got a lot of detail, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to keep up with week to week because you do have a lot of other things in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have definitely covered the fact that the way that it's being presented quite a bit. I do want to kind of end, because I started off this episode talking about how I got hooked on this one, and I feel that way. This was the episode that I've been waiting for. I'm very excited for next week's episode. And I am
Me
no
too.
longer expecting it to be this, a new case at any point in time. I want to know what happens with this, and I want all the loose ends to be tied up. I don't want there to be any of the plot points that just get left hanging.
Yeah, give me all the details.
Exactly. So I'm on board 100% now. I'm actually super excited to watch next week, and I want to see where things with Sister Abby's vision goes.
Alice.
I want to see or Alice, yeah. I want to see what's his name? Is it George? Is the husband who was originally
Yes.
charged?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens with George and his father, and see what kind of. I feel like there's a manipulation going on there.
Yeah,
With
definitely.
Haggerty. Yes.
Suddenly.
Exactly. And I wonder, how much of that is to keep him occupied or tear him away from his wife so that he can, be controlled. I want to find out what's going on with the detectives, and, oh man, there's so much to it. So I'm very excited to see the next episode. And this one is the one that hooked me.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty well hooked on the second episode. This one's just kind of driving it home for me.
Well, hopefully 4 kicks it up for Rachel so that we can all
Maybe
be
I'll
on
get
board
hooked
for this.
eventually.
All right. Well, then I think that pretty much covers it for episode 3, unless you guys had something else you wanted to make sure you mentioned.
Nope.
No?
All right. Well, then that, I think, covers it for episode 3 of Perry Mason. Hopefully you enjoyed our coverage of this episode. Please go online, like, and subscribe, and join us next time on Were You Not Entertained?